Hey, Ace here to talk to you about transgender and what it is. The Wikipedia short form of it is transgender is the state of one's gender identity or gender expression not matching one's assigned sex. Now, by gender identity, that's self-identification, so how one perceives themselves. Example, I perceive myself as male. Doesn't match their assigned sex, and sex being what's between your legs, your genitalia, born female. Transgender is independent of sexual orientation. So who I'm attracted to has nothing to do with how I express myself. It's not some sort of stage where, I was little, was a tomboy, became a lesbian, and now I'm a butch male. It doesn't work like that. It's not a progressive system where every butch lesbian out there is suddenly going to turn into a trans male. It's simply, as I grew up, I found myself and I identified myself further. And it wasn't until I was in a comfortable environment where I was okay with acting on my feelings that I was able to discover myself, really. I spent a lot of time in the closet, and it was very uncomfortable. It definitely impacted my mental health, and it's not just me. There are many others out there who struggle with being in the closet and might not even know it yet. So yes, as I was saying, transgender people may identify themselves as heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, pansexual, polysexual, or asexual. Those are all different sexual orientations. Heterosexual and homosexual are the most common, hetero being straight, homo being gay. Bisexual is liking both. No, bisexuals are not selfish. They actually do like both genders. Pansexual, those who identify as pansexual are attracted to more than just gender. It's not just about the gender, how you express yourself, or what's between your legs. They are more interested in your personality, and that's quite wonderful, actually. Asexual are those who don't find an attraction to either gender. To each their own. Some may consider conventional sexual orientation labels inadequate or inapplicable to them. Now, I still agree with that. Personally, I don't like binaries at all. I don't like having to label my gender. I don't like having to label my sexual orientation. And personally, I really don't like having to explain why things are the way they are. But since we do live in a society where that is, and I'd rather educate people so they are more open-minded, rather than push them off and further their opinion, possibly negative opinion, on me. So yeah, I try to keep an open mind and try to stay an open book. That way I can get more people to understand, and it is through their understanding that you eliminate ignorance. A great teaching tool, a great reference, is the Social Justice Advocate's Handbook, A Guide to Gender. It's actually a book. If you go to www.guidetojender.com, there will be a link. You could either buy a hard copy or you can get a free copy download if you basically advertise their book via Facebook or Twitter. They also do a cool electronic download where you simply just donate to the cause, whatever you feel, between $5 to whatever you'd like to donate. But they break everything down from a very neutral perspective where ideally everyone is on even ground. And they go much further than just gender. They break down how gender is different from sex and how sexual orientation is completely independent of those two things, and so on and so forth. They have a lot of great comics, mental to-do exercises, kind of like, here's the scenario, picture yourself in this scenario, now picture how you'd feel. And it really gets you into other people's shoes, which is really great. I've learned a lot about myself while reading it, and it's helped me understand others. Really, the easiest way to go about being trans is a lot of understanding, where I need to understand for people to get used to it. I need to understand that people aren't going to immediately switch to proper pronouns. I need to understand that not everyone is as lucky to have a community that is so supportive. But moving on. The creators of A Guide to Gender, before creating the book, had developed Genderbread Person, and it's a visual tool to show how sex, gender, sexual orientation, all of those are separate entities, and they're all on a spectrum. It is not as finite as black and white. It's a lot of gray, and there's many in between. Now, common terms. Common terms of trans individuals include trans man, which refers to a female to male transgendered person, also abbreviated as FTM. And then there's trans women, who refer to male to female transgendered people, also abbreviated as MTF. Then there's the term cisgender, which actually means that the anatomy of said cisgender people is identical to their gender. We currently live in a society where everyone is assumed to be heterosexual and cisgender until otherwise stated. I'm pushing and hoping and maybe one day really progressing society to a point where that is no longer assumed. That it's no longer necessary for people to have to come out of the closet, where it is safe for everyone to simply be who they are and what they feel, and no one is judged for it. But it's a work in progress.